Welcome, everyone, to Wellness Wednesdays. My name is Carla Coleman. I'm Director of Communications for New Salem Baptist Church and your host tonight. And with me is my co host, Paige Reynolds, who I want
Good
everyone
evening,
to
everyone.
congratulate. I want to congratulate her on graduating last Sunday from Ohio State University in journalism. So excited for her. So
Thank
I just
you.
wanted to say
Thank
that right out front. Paige, you're the best girl. So joining us tonight is Minister Charity Clancy, Sister Holly Robinson, and Sister Nichelle White, as we have a conversation surrounding grief associated with losing a mother, as well as strategies and techniques for healing. As you know, we just come back from Mother's Day, and I'd have to say it's a tough day for me, especially since I lost my mother 2 years ago on March 30th. And Mother's Day often falls right on her birthday, and it did that this year as well. So I try to make sure that I surround myself with as much family as possible, and my children, etc., because it is a difficult day. I still hear her voice, and she guides me every day with things that she said that, it's like, wow, it's like she's here. I can hear her telling me, don't do that or do this. So I miss her so much. And I know a lot of people have the same experiences. So the ladies we have here with us tonight are all members of New Salem Baptist Church, of course, and they are all they're friends, and they talk. They like to share stories, but they also have been there to support each other as they have lost their moms as well. So I'm going to ask each of them to quickly introduce themselves so that we can get started with our conversation. We'll start with Holly.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. My name is Holly Robinson. I am not an expert in grief or the healing process, but I'm thankful for this opportunity. Thank you to Pastor Mrs. Troy. And they must have slipped the wrist to sign off for me to be here tonight, but I'm very grateful.
Excellent. And Nichelle?
Hi, yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Nichelle White. Originally from Cleveland, Ohio. Holly and I are both from Cleveland. I've been a member of New Salem for about 28 years now. I joined while I was in school at The Ohio State University. Um, Married, and I have two lovely boys. You've probably seen them if you're friends with me on Facebook. Have no other family here in Columbus, so that's a part of my story. And as Holly mentioned, I am not an expert. I just have a lot of experience. I will say that, and willing to share my story.
And hello,
And
everyone.
Charity.
Oh, hello, everyone. My name is Charity Clancy. I have actually been a member of New Salem since January of 1999. So that makes it 22 years this year.
Wow.
Like the other ladies, I met them actually in undergrad, but I am originally from Dayton, Ohio. We are all Cleveland Browns fans. I like to say that. And also, I am not a licensed therapist, but I appreciate New Salem for giving me the opportunity, probably for the last 15 plus years, to work with our grief. I'll call it the grief ministry, providing support who have lost loved ones.
Nice. Excellent. I'm so happy to have all of you here today. Even though it is a topic that I think a lot of people like to talk about because they like to talk about their mothers and the good memories that they have. But it's also a process of how to deal with the loss of a mom. So I'm going to start with you, Charity. I know you have some things that you would like to do first. So I'm
Oh,
going to
thank
give
you.
the mic to you.
Okay. So, since we were talking about the loss of a mother, I would like Holly and Nichelle to both actually give their how their mothers passed, and actually how long ago it was, and what the grieving process looked like for each of them.
Yeah, sure. I'll get started. So, my mother's name was Rebecca Durant. She was originally from Camden, Alabama, made it to Cleveland, Ohio, and my parents they divorced when I was a young age. So my mom was primarily my everything. So she was the disciplinary. She was an encourager. She was our best supporter and our best advocate. I'm the youngest. I have an older brother and sister, and like I said, we had been in Cleveland all this time. I will never forget. I can even remember what I ate that day. We had tacos for dinner, and to this day, my kids do not like to eat tacos on certain days. Um, we had tacos for dinner. We get a call. It's June 16th. Well, let me back up. My mom, the previous weekend, she had spent a couple days with my sister. She came to Columbus, spent a couple days with me, and then she went to Akron and spent a couple days with my brother. And we was like, oh, and then that Monday she was sick and she said, I'm gonna go to the doctor, check it out. And they didn't know what was wrong. And then they said, oh, she should be out by Thursday. And I remember talking to her and they couldn't find anything. And then we get a call that she might not make it, and I remember those moments thinking, oh my gosh, like this is not real, like this is not happening. And then we get the final call that she passed. So at that moment, it for me, grief was that it went dark for me, like instantly. Like I couldn't move, I couldn't function, I couldn't think. And I had a great support group that were helping me, but I just felt like an out of body experience. So that my experience was a little different probably as Nichelle told hers, because I wasn't in the room or with my mom. My sister was, but it was a little more difficult because I was so far away and I couldn't get there fast enough. So I'll let Nichelle tell her story.
Thanks, Holly. So my mom, Sarah Willagene Porter, passed away in November of 2016. So about 5 years ago. I am also the youngest of my family. And unfortunately, I had lost a lot of siblings leading up to the death of my mother. So I really didn't have a lot of other folks to lean on in my immediate family. I immediately became like, I have one older sister remaining, but we immediately went into planning mode, right? Processing and planning. I did have the opportunity. My mom was diagnosed with dementia, and then over time was put into hospice. So I had a lot of more time to kind of process what was happening, but it did not make it that much easier. I'll say that. When we knew she was on the decline, I was in constant contact with my nieces and nephews in Cleveland. I got a call on a Monday that she was not doing well and they did not expect her to make it through the night. So I immediately got on the road to get to Cleveland. Me and my boys, my husband and my boys, we were the only ones in the room at the time. When we walked in the room, we all gave her a kiss, hug, and within about an hour, I touched her forehead and knew she was gone. So I always hold on to the fact that she waited for me. And so that's the piece that gave me some strength to carry on, because I don't know how bad I would have felt if I'd have got there and she was already gone. So that's just a little bit about my story, and then we'll share some more as the night moves on.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing that. Many people hear me talk about the loss of my brother. What people don't really know is actually 3 months before I lost my brother, we lost my grandmother. So she passed away on her 90th birthday, and my brother passed away in July. But I found myself in a stage where I was very angry with God for doing this to my mother, for taking her mother and her son away. So such a short time period, and then having my mom, you know, try to manage, because she basically handled the funeral process for her son as well as her mother. So I was really just angry with God. So um, one of the things with the 5 stages of grief, and I'll announce them in just a minute. Some people think that there are just truly only 5 stages, but there are actually more stages that you go through. But these are I will say, the prominent ones that people experience. The first one being denial and isolation, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, I just announced that I was truly in a phase of anger. Um, Tell me a little bit about your process. Did you experience any of those five, or was there a time? Because some people think there's a time frame on experiencing these stages. So tell me something about that.
Yeah, I'll take lead on that one. Um, I remember going through the 5 stages of grief and how it looked. Like I said, at first it was that I couldn't function, and at that moment, I started to realize how close sanity and insanity was, because it just I could see that line, was touching it, didn't want to go over to that side of
Right.
everything. And I remember going through the process, and then I remember when I was like on like the fifth thing, and I was thinking, whew, it's going to get better. But the cycle started all over again.
Hmm.
And I remember, and it just kept evolving and evolving. I kept saying, oh my goodness, how many cycles do I have to go through this grief? And when will it get better? And it just took time. It looked different for me and all my siblings. And
Hmm.
we really just had to have a lot of patience with that. Like I said, it went dark. Like I used to remember waking up crying for 2 hours. Then I had progress. I was only crying for an hour in the morning, 30 minutes. When it got down to a minute, I thought I was winning. Like I started my day crying. All right, we're good. It's over. Let's move forward.
And
Now, no, go right ahead. Go ahead.
I guess I would say I didn't give myself time to grieve. I think I went right into how do I support everybody else in my family? How do I make sure the planning for her funeral was what she wanted? How do I support my nieces and nephews? Um, Leading up to my mother's death, I had lost 3 siblings within a 2 to 3 year time frame, back to back. All sudden. And so what I saw in my mother was depression.
Okay.
And I knew, as being a mother, right? I don't I don't know how she lasted as long as she did, honestly, just because it was so much so fast. And so I was initially sad, then mad, because I felt like everybody else had left, like, Mom, like I still really needed you here for me. And then went into, this is my new reality, and now I have to step it up, um, lean in more, be there. Like, grandma's house was always the place to be, and I don't even live in Cleveland, so that made my job even harder because I live 2 hours away. But I still wanted to try to be that person that I think my mom would have wanted me to be for the folks that were left in my family. So um, I did not cry until at night when I was in the shower and I knew that my kids would not hear me.
Okay.
Um, and that's kind of how it started for me.
Holly, you had mentioned one thing. There was this darkness. So one of the steps talks about acceptance. So when do you think you finally got to a place where, I'm not going to say it's ever gone, but that it felt okay? Let's just say okay, because that's
Hmm.
an easy word.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
Or
Like
is it okay?
it just
Or is it okay?
like
Yeah.
it depends on the day. So now it's a little bit different. So my mom has been gone in June. It'll be 13 years. So now it's a little bit different for me. I try to honor her memory in like cause she always did stuff to make us laugh. She was hilarious, not even trying to be hilarious. So I always try to remember in what makes me smile, what makes me laugh. every now and then a fragrance or someone in the store saying, um, Mom, let's go out to dinner will trigger me because I realize that won't happen again. But it's not as bad now as it was in the beginning. It is each day I got a little bit stronger, I got a little bit tougher, but I was okay with, I never put a time limit on how long I could grieve. If it's around her birthday, if it's around holidays, I'm okay with it. And I don't and people give me the space to grieve, so
Okay, thank you. One thing that came up out of what you just stated was time heals all wounds. Now that's a
mhm.
myth. How do you feel about that? Does time
Um,
heal all wounds?
I'll just say the more days that pass, like we can talk about it without me just losing it, right? I think that shows a little bit of progress, but there were times that I just couldn't talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it. Um, my mom passed in November, and our favorite holiday was Thanksgiving. Like that was the one holiday we knew every, because with people with kids, Christmas is iffy. You might want to stay, at home or stay with your partners or your spouse's family. And so with Thanksgiving though, we were like, that was our holiday. And so it hit me. She died November 12th. Thanksgiving was like 2 weeks later. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, where do we go?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? Who cooks what? Like, what do we, uh,
Yeah.
all of the
Real
things that you like
questions.
take for granted. You take these
Real
things for
question.
granted.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I
Mhm.
should have probably wrote down that recipe. And, so my
I
niece and
agree.
we kind of like, we're going to figure it out. And we don't have traditional Thanksgivings anymore. She's pescatarian, so I'm eating salmon for Thanksgiving, and my mother is probably like, "What are y'all doing?"
Or do it.
But it works for us, right? And
Mhm.
also it was good to know some of my nieces and nephews are older, right? And so they can support me too. Like I don't have to carry it all by myself. Um,
Right.
but that reality of we're still figuring it out. It's 5 years later,
Mhm.
and we're still
Mhm.
figuring it out. And we get through it every year. We rotate houses. We never did that before. I was always
Right.
on the road to Cleveland,
Mhm.
so I think that's helped us. But I do believe that everybody's experience is going to be definitely different,
Mm-hmm.
and I do believe that what's helped me get to the point today, 5 years later, has been my friend circle, has been licensed therapy. I had when my mom died, that's when I knew I needed to get a therapist, my own
Mm-hmm.
dedicated therapist. Um,
Mhm.
and I started out in grief counseling with, I think, with you, Charity, at the church, and we had an hour right before for service, and I always felt like it wasn't enough, like I didn't have enough time. And then I progressed to a group therapy through Kobacker House. One of my dear friends, Dr. Cynthia Tyson, told me about this program. That program was very helpful because they also provided counseling for my children. And that's the one thing, if you are a parent, like you have kids, they're going through this stuff too. It's enough for you to try to carry it. But then how are your kids processing this? All of this
Right.
death back to back. And we can't
Mhm.
just assume they're going to be okay. And so that was perfect because it was a place for my kids to go, for them to have an outlet and express what was going on with them, and then also for me, still in group therapy. And then it progressed to, I need to talk to somebody myself for a dedicated hour,
Mhm.
monthly at a minimum. And I immediately started to do that after my mom passed.
Hey,
Charity,
Michelle,
let me
you jumped
ask
to
a
the end.
quick question. Hey, Charity,
Sure. No, go
let me
right
ask
ahead.
a quick question of the three of you. And that is, do you feel you had enough time to grieve? I mean, even though it's ongoing and you're going to grieve for, everyone grieves for, the different amount of time. But at the time, did you feel like you had enough time to grieve or that you had to dive right back into your life?
That's a funny question that you asked. I'm sorry. You can go ahead, Holly. I'll let you go.
No. I was going to say that is a funny question because I had just transitioned to working in education where you had summers off. So that summer I didn't have to work, so I could really just spend that extra time. I know a lot of people like to stay busy, but I just had to sit in it, so I just wouldn't continue to carry it. I just needed to, and that 3 months gave me the time to sit in it and help me make some progress that I could move forward in August. So I don't know how people who only have 3 days with their job and go back on that Monday.
Right.
I don't know how that happens. Yeah.
That
I
was my
think.
story. So, like Chase gave me five bereavement days. I had a really good relationship with my manager, so of course they understood that, and gave me time as needed. But I also felt like I couldn't just sit in it. Like I had to be doing something to keep my mind from going to a dark place. So for me, that was going back to work. And when I show back up to work, I had a team at the time and they all came in my office like, "What are you doing here? Like, you need to take a leave of absence." And I was like, "Oh no, I can't take a leave of absence because that would keep me at home by myself alone with my thoughts." And that was, to me, a very dangerous place to be. So I did go back to work and got right back into the rhythm of things. I also thought it was better for my boys to keep their schedule. We were going to football practice. We were doing whatever we needed to do. We were doing it. But we didn't stop talking about her and her passing. We never stopped talking about her, so that was also something that helped me get through.
I think for me it was a little bit different. I live by myself, so I got to be careful saying that on social media. But um,
Yeah.
basically, basically, because I was here and by myself, and my entire family was back home, I was allowed to grieve. But the one thing I noticed was I learned how to put a mask on going to work and coming to church. And I had to be very careful because sometimes when you put this mask on, you're preventing yourself from actually grieving. So sometimes, people say, come back to church really fast. I think you have to give yourself enough time to process it because there may be an instance you may come to church and the right song will hit you or someone will say something. Next thing you know, you find yourself running out the church and you're in the parking lot on your way home because that pain, that grief is so hard. And now you feel, oh, here you feel another layer of grief because they saw me run out of the church. Give yourself the time that you need. That was like another myth. Don't be strong for everybody else. I know for you ladies, you have children, so it's a different look on that. But I had to learn how to just allow myself to feel every emotion and not worrying about what others were thinking or trying to be so strong for my parents or other family members. I mean, we do that very well. We can be strong for everybody, but sometimes it could be at a disadvantage for us.
Yeah, especially
Absolutely.
as black women. As black women, we take
Hmm.
that on, and that's just not healthy. It's just not.
Right.
Mm.
It's not healthy, but I think it's our defense mechanism.
It is.
Like we wear a mask every day at work, and so putting on another mask was not that hard, right? And like I said, I would hold it until I could get into until my kids were in the bed and I was in the shower, and that's when I would feel like I could release what I had been holding on to maybe for hours. But everybody's different, right? I still feel like I got it off my chest and I released those emotions. I was just trying to be so careful but then I got to the point where if I cried and my son would look at me and I'd be like, "I was just thinking about grandma,"
Yeah.
and so talking about it with them, I think, helped them too, because it was showing them that it's okay for them to have emotion too. Um,
Right.
Hmm.
And one
That's a
thing I
good
was
one.
saying, you said a good point, Nichelle, is I think I was so in the thick of what I was going through, I really didn't see what my kids were going through at that moment. And lucky others did and stepped in and sharing a quick story. And I hope Miss Troy don't kill me for this, but I know the twins, she was like, well, how can I help you? How can I support you? I said, just look out for my kids. And she said, I'm going to take them out to eat. So she took them out to eat and talked with them, and they had a good time. And they were about 5 and 7. And that was really good. But fast forward, when Miss T lost her sister, she wasn't eating, and the twins took her out to eat. And it showed me how much that blessed them at the time. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was
yeah. So,
a lesson for, you didn't even realize that it was a lesson for your
no,
kids, and that they
yes,
saw that,
Mm-hmm.
picked that up and said, okay, it's our turn to return the favor. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
And they
Wow.
paid for it.
Yeah,
Even better.
that's even better. Because they knew how important it
Yes,
was, because they
yes,
love
yeah.
her and they knew how important it was. Wow, that
And
just
Yeah.
how
gives me
much it
chills.
meant to them, yes, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. What a lesson.
That brings us
Yeah.
up the point too of like, what do you do for people who are going through grief? And a lot of times people, on Facebook, let me know if you need anything. And the reality is I don't know what I need. You're in a place where you can't think, you can't process necessarily extra stuff, and so leaning in by dropping off food, or people would pick up
Mhm.
my boys too, and it was just kind of like to give them a break from the heaviness was
Right.
just what they needed and just what I needed, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Miss Troy didn't pick my kids up, but that's okay, she can still come and get them today,
I requested it. I
if she
requested
wants
it.
to.
You know what?
They free.
I'm happy that you said that, because I think back. Yeah, I don't have no kids to come get, but I became a kid. I remember one day I just wouldn't eat, and my friends
Mhm.
were like, you get to a point sometimes you just don't want to answer that phone. Do you
That's
know
Right.
right.
this is why you can't give certain people, and she knows who she is, a key to your home, because they show up and they start cooking dinner. You're like, why are y'all here? But I thank God that they knew enough to listen to what the spirit was
Mhm.
telling them to do, instead of listening to what I was
Yeah.
pushing off on them.
Right.
Another
Mhm.
thing is just being there and listening. Sometimes some people just need you there to listen to them. I didn't
Yeah.
talk much. Mine was always, what I needed was ministry of presence. So people
Mm.
would come over and they know I love comedy. So that means sitting down watching Coming to America, Martin,
Mm.
things that's just gonna make you bust out laughing. I was not in a
Mm-hmm.
place where I could receive anything sad, devastating, true story. It had to be complete comedy to keep me at a balance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And I love that, the thought that, asking someone what they need and being present is two different things. I mean, like you said, you could tell them, I don't need anything, but
Right.
and like your children knew, Holly, that, don't tell me, I know what you need. You need a meal, you need
Mm-hmm.
our presence, you need us to be with you. And so,
Yes.
sometimes you got to just be creative in that way, because whatever you do is going to be helpful. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think another thing that really helped me during that time is I had people who they wouldn't say my mom exactly, but they would call me on her birthday or around the time she
Mhm.
died, and they would just say, "Hey, how you doing today?" And I might not hear from them again till next year that time, but that someone took the time and just to call and check on me was, such a blessing. And one thing I learned in this process, sometimes you think, oh, this person's going to be in my corner doing this. Sometimes it's the least likely person end up being your best supporter advocate during this
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had that
Yeah.
happen to me. I'm gonna call her out. My Aunt Patty Elder called me on every year. And then she called me too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't expect her to call. But it was right on time. She knew exactly where I was emotionally at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And she would call out of the blue. And sometimes that's all we
Mm-hmm.
have to do. I mean, I'm not the best at calling folks, but sometimes you know that someone is thinking or dealing with something. Just give them a call.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Sounds so
definitely.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and
So my
and
Don't go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Nope. No, you keep
And
going.
we're gonna keep Charity on.
No, what?
Back on track.
What
Go ahead, Holly.
I was gonna I wanted to backtrack to something Michelle said, and I wanted to make sure we emphasized it is the holidays.
Mm,
The
Thank you.
holidays was something that the first holidays me and my siblings decided to get together and have Thanksgiving and do different things. But after that, it was see when my mom was alive, I knew we were going to Cleveland to her house. She was cooking and I knew what the tradition was. When she died, I didn't know what to do. So that second year, it was like it was so depressing because it was like it's a family of five. You don't want to cook a whole turkey for for that, and so that was very difficult. But what I learned probably in the third or fourth year was be intentional. Like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
have a plan for your holiday. Don't wait for somebody to ask you. Don't
Mm-hmm.
wait. Be intentional how you're going to do it. And I don't know if I ever shared this with Michelle, but she would always say, "Hey, what are y'all doing for the holiday? Let's get together." That took such a big stress off. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
At
no,
least
that
y'all
was
had turkey.
exactly.
At least y'all had turkey, Holly. My niece, God bless her, Sharice. She's like, you could bring all that stuff, and we would. We bring a ham, but we got used to new. We had to come up with what work for our new normal. I'll call it. Right? There's those traditions that we still try to hold on to, and I think the biggest piece is just getting together.
Hmm.
And then there's the piece that so what? We don't have a turkey. You know, what matters is that we are together with each other, supporting each other and loving each other through that difficult time. And so, life looks a lot different when the matriarch of your family passes.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is we keep trying to hold on to what it looked like instead of
Hmm.
trying to embrace what it is and how we
mhm,
can make it our own for our children,
Hmm.
moving forward.
That's
mhm.
true. I think that's
You.
where I was headed anyway, was the new traditions, and how holidays are celebrated. One thing I had to learn how to do, get the recipe, like you said, Nichelle. Get that recipe.
Hmm.
So now I am responsible for doing the homemade rolls at Thanksgiving. And I'm sorry, it has to be a turkey there. It has to be.
Yeah,
I
thank
can eat
you.
salmon, but I
Thank
gotta have
you.
a turkey. But
Gotta have that
uh,
turkey.
yeah, we gotta have turkey at Thanksgiving. But d- you know, um, getting the family to still celebrate. What does that look
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
like?
Mhm.
Well,
For us, we just did different. We still get together. I know the first couple of ones were very hard, but we still do it. We still do it. At
Mm-hmm.
least the major holidays, I'll say that.
Yeah.
yes. First of all, I know Sharice is going to send Nichelle a nice text about her talking about her being a pescatarian, and I would love to read it. So copy me on that text. But the holidays, like I said, being intentional, being and it. One thing we didn't say is when you have siblings, everyone grieves differently. Giving
Mm-hmm.
them because your grief don't look like my grief and how I express it. Be comfortable with some people may stop talking, other ones may talk too much. And then there might be some that have the takeover spirit. Um,
Mhm.
but just give everybody their space to work through it. And
Mm-hmm.
don't argue about it. Don't get upset about it. Just say, hey, you're just expressing a little different. And I learned to do this. Like, I might not do it that
Mm-hmm.
way, but I'm gonna let you go. And then when we get it, then we could talk about it a little bit later. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very, very important. I think death sometimes brings out the ugly sometimes. And it may all stem back to we all are going through this thing and we all are processing it differently. And my response may be completely different from yours. And giving grace and understanding, I think is very important. And then, like I said, not thinking that everything has to be the same way as it's always been. You know, I'll never forget. I forget which year it was, but my nieces in Cleveland reached out and said, "Hey, we're going to come down there for Thanksgiving this year." And they had done that before and brought my mom with them, but that just meant the world. Like, oh wow, like y'all coming down to see me. I truly appreciated that because we're the only ones that don't live in Cleveland, so we were always the ones trekking up the highway to spend time with family for the holidays. But that year we had such a blast. I'll never forget it. And they probably don't even know how much it really meant to me, but it truly did because it showed me that um, me leaning in a little bit more and trying to do what I thought would help keep us together, right? We're a smaller family now and we don't have a lot, but the folks that we do have, I want to keep close. And it was just what I needed for them to show me that, we see you and we're here for you too. So
Say that louder about family coming to see
they
you,
can
so
come,
that my family that's no,
they don't
that
think
my
the
family
freeway
that's
go the other
listening right
way for
now,
some reason.
I'm trying to get a message to my family so they'll come see me.
Right, right.
Gas prices
Right.
going up. But on a one last thing I think we wanted to all hit on is, and Michelle, you started us in on it pretty early. What does our support network look like?
Mm-hmm.
I literally told you guys, yeah, more than one person has a key to my house, but only one is bossy enough to come and let herself in. Y'all probably know
Yeah.
who it is. But basically, my friends being here in Columbus, like you stated, Michelle, we don't have family here. But my girls, my dad calls us the Golden Girls. They are my inner circle. They are the ones, yeah, they are the ones who support me, who got me through a lot of this when my family wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
So, what does your support network look like?
Um, One thing I would like to share, there was a couple of things that happened, and one thing I did, and I don't even know if I shared it with you ladies, is when my mom first died, I needed to be intentional. I needed something. So I started a Pandora bracelet. So every time it
Mm-hmm.
was her birthday, Christmas, when I would have got her a gift, I added a charm to this bracelet. And so it gave me meaning. It gave me, and that kind of helped me with the grieving process because sometimes I would get sad and I was like, oh, I get to check out, I get to design this charm for my mom and, make this bracelet special. And that was just such a blessing to me. And so from her, I have these pearls and I have this bracelet. So anytime I go to my niece or nephew graduation or something significant, I always wear the bracelet and then a necklace. So that's one thing. And then my friends, I had people who came in and like you said, Charity, and just like they were patient with me. They was like, yeah, I know things are difficult for you. They actually made me go camping for the first time. I've been camping when I was younger, but not as an adult. It's a difference as an adult, and I did not want to go, but that really helped me start with the grieving process. And after that, we started this whole camping group, Blacks Going Camping, and we haven't done it in a couple of years, but that really was a blessing, and that's how it got started. And we was up to like 15 families by the time we stopped. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, we were the only blacks
Um,
there.
yeah, I heard about that camping trip. It didn't sound appealing to me. Sleeping outside on the ground. So
Intense.
it's too intense. So I'm glad you mentioned jewelry. So when my mom passed, I kept a lot of her jewelry that she had, and one was like her wedding ring. She had a mother's ring for me and all of my siblings, and so every now and again, when I just need a little pick me up, I'll put on her wedding ring, or I'll put on her mother's ring, or um, if I really want to get fancy, put on, something that she left me that, is priceless. And I treasure and hold on to those things. For me, it really was, I call them my family, with the FR family. They're not just my friends anymore. They have really become my family here in Columbus because they've gotten me through a lot of stuff that I had to go through. And I think I mentioned it in my post. I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't have that group of, hey, we're coming over tonight, or hey, come over to my house. Let's, hang out. And then, pulling my kids along. Hey, my one girlfriend started a brunch for all of the kids that we have, and it was, my kids were like, oh wow, we get to go with you, because usually if I go to brunches, I don't want to be bothered with kids. But she would allow, she set up one specifically for kids. And then I have a lot of folks who I've either met through New Salem or are brought to New Salem because of our relationship, that I call my family now. And then honestly, you need to probably get professional help if you still can't seem to move the needle on the feelings and the emotions that you're carrying, because I will truly say that probably saved me from that insanity you were talking about. So if anybody knows Holly and I, we're always laughing, we're always cracking jokes, we're the life of the party, right? And you get stuck with that label. You get stuck with the, oh, Nichelle, she's always cracking jokes, she's always funny. And I remember in that time being like, not today, not right now. That's not who I am. And I don't want that label, because it was too much pressure. That label meant I had to be happy all the time. And that just wasn't my story. Now I've, slow worked my way back to that. And we were prepping for this call, and we had a good old time laughing about different things our moms would say or do. And, we're to the point now that we can truly have a good belly laugh. But the reality is not everybody's there. And it took me a few years to get there. It could take the next person several years to get to that point. But I truly believe that we in the Black community, we don't lean enough on licensed therapy help. And I will say, I remember trying to take my mom when I lost 3 of my siblings, and I was like, Mom, you gotta talk to somebody. And she was just like, I talk to Jesus every day. I don't need to talk to anybody else. And I remember thinking, like, I gotta break this generational curse, because I saw her in a depressed state and not getting the help that she needed, which I think kind of sped up her into leading into dementia, into leading her death certificate. People get shocked when I say this. Her death certificate says failure to thrive, which just means she gave up. And so, I was trying to catch her before she got to that point. I couldn't. She didn't want the help. But I think that's a lot of our problems. We don't feel like we need the help. We don't seek the help. And there's help out there. There truly is.
One thing.
No, I'm gonna wait.
No, I was going to say one thing Nichelle and I didn't mention about us. Yeah, we know each other from Ohio State and New Salem, but it came out that our mothers went to the same church. And one Sunday we realized, after being in New Salem, I was like, Nichelle, what are you doing here? He said, that's my mom. I didn't realize I had knew who her mom was, and that was her our mom, and they sat next to each other in church for a long time. They sat together. They slept together in church, and they woke up at the same time, and they said amen. So we laugh about that, that it was that our parents were connected and we didn't even know that. And I think, we have been support system to each other, and our parents, they started that, being for each other. So we were connected before we even knew we were connected. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What a good
They
story.
in heaven right now, taking a nap right about now.
No, I, I can't talk. I will say I piggyback when Michelle says about the therapy. You know, one thing I've tried to tell people, because our community is, anti-therapy from, professionals. You go into the coop doctor
Mhm.
or whatever they call it. Um, I always tell people this is your journey. This is your
Right.
healing. Everyone
Mhm.
else should not be able to dictate how your healing goes. So just
Mhm.
remember that this is your process. How much help you get determines, where you want to be. And one thing
Mhm.
about grief is a continual process, not for you to just park your car and never move it. It's a
Right.
Mm-hmm.
continual process. I always tell people, allow
Mhm.
yourself to grieve, no comparing. Don't, you three ladies have already shown me you all lost your mother, but it's a different process. You all lost them a
Mhm.
different way. It's nothing similar except that you lost your mom. So sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
can't compare it. We have to, let people be individuals.
Right.
I am a crybaby and I really hate it. So I am very good at crying by myself or in the movie theaters, sometimes even a Disney movie. So don't tell nobody. But crying is good. Crying is healing.
Mhm.
Allow yourself to
Yeah.
cry. Um, Basically seeking the help from people who are willing to listen. Sometimes the reason why people go to therapy is because they need an objective voice, someone who's just going to
Mm-hmm.
listen and not give them advice on, well, if it was me, you should do it like this.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
got that neck, because you know how it always kind of goes. But
Yeah.
yeah. And then the last one
Mhm.
being, understand that recovery does not mean going back to the way you were before the loss. What does your new
Mm-hmm.
normal look like?
Yep.
Mhm. Excellent.
That's the key. When you get over the hump, when you get, you know, there's a saying, I can't catch the quote right now, but if you're so busy looking to the past, you can't look forward and move ahead, right? Because you're still,
Mhm.
yeah, in track, you get the baton, you don't even look back, you just get it in your
Yeah,
hand and
that's
keep
right.
going. You cannot look
Mhm.
back. Um, but with grief, it's different because you do want to look back. You do want to remember those folks. You do want to celebrate their birthdays and think about them on the holidays, because I do
Yeah.
think that helps with grief, but you don't want to
Yeah.
get stuck there. And that's the
Yes.
Mhm.
biggest piece. Trying to find the right thing to help you take the next step and the next step and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
Michelle, you got to share about one of the greatest things that she started, and now I say I'm the co-chair of, that has really helped us through the grieving process. I said she's the chair and co-chair of this, so I will let her talk about this event that she started that really blessed me and really helped us. But go ahead, I'll let you talk about it.
So in 2019, folks are always asking, like, what are you doing for Mother's Day weekend? What are you doing for Mother's Day weekend? And, if you know me, I want to go to the spa, get my nails done, or, the girly stuff, go shopping. And I had just realized that a lot of the people that are in my friend circle had lost their mom. And
Mhm.
I thought, what a great idea. Let's all come together on Mother's Day weekend to celebrate the memories of our mothers. And so we did it the first year in 2019. It was just me. I just texted a few people saying, hey, are you free this Saturday? Let's go to lunch. I went and got them a small gift. Because this expectation that you get a gift on Mother's Day. Some mothers don't get gifts on Mother's Day. So I got them a little something from Bath and Body Works. We ate lunch, we laughed, we cried, but we all left feeling lighter. I usually ask just a couple of questions to get the conversation going, like, what's your fondest memory of your mom? What was your mom's best advice? That kind of stuff to keep the conversation going. And then we just enjoy each other's company. 2020 hit, all that shut down, right? And in 2021, I declared the 2021 the year of me. Like I was just going to focus on myself. And then here comes Holly. Are you doing that lunch again for Mother's Day weekend? And I said, I hadn't thought about it actually. I just, was gonna go to the spa, do my girly things, and didn't really, put a lot of thought into it. But I was like, if you're asking, there probably are a few others who would still like to do it. And we ended up getting together again this past Saturday and doing lunch, and we got a new person invited in. Unfortunately, I have a long list of people who are in this club with us. And I don't know that I'll ever find a venue during COVID that will be big enough to hold us all. But Holly and I got to thinking, like, we need to start keeping track of names, right? She's already started looking at a venue for next year. And, just to make sure people realize they do have support out here. And that support might look different. Friends invited friends. We were getting nervous because the restaurant restrictions this year, you can't get a lot of people, and we were inviting and more people than we had seats. But it truly was a blessing. I got a text message. I didn't share it with you, Holly. She was just like, I don't know what I was going to do this weekend, but I was so grateful that I got the invite to come share with you all and not be sitting in my house alone and sad and thinking about, my loved one. So we're going to keep it going. We're going to get an official name for it.
Yeah.
But I will say this, Nichelle, when you get up to 20, 25 people, I can't chip in on that gift. You're going to have to get a sponsor.
I know.
She just let you know now.
I'm gonna write a grant.
Before we go much further, we got a couple questions in the chat, and I don't want us to miss out on these. So,
Okay.
Paige, did you see those?
Yeah, definitely. I know I've been sitting back and quiet, but I've been looking at the chat, and you guys are touching a lot of people. Like, if you don't know, like, read all in the chat. There's so many people who are so appreciative, and it's hard to be vulnerable and explain your hurt, but you guys really are touching a lot of people. So let me get to a question. So one says, do you find yourself at times doing things specifically because you know it honors your mother? For example, I used to help my dad with a lot of the manly like chores around the house, so I'm wired to always look for projects around the house when I go home.
Yeah. I mean, I get my dad is always laughing. He says, as your mother's getting older, she's acting more and more like her mother. And I have to laugh because we both have a lot of her mannerisms. As far as having flowers, liking things a certain way, literally still ironing clothes. A lot of people don't do that no more. So I think for me, I took away, my grandmother she used to clean homes. She would walk through the house when we were over there singing. And I find myself doing it. I can't sing worth a lick. And, I have been told I can't sing by, certain folks. And so it's good to be able to sing in your own home because you think you're the best. But I see myself becoming more and more like her. That's mine.
I would piggyback off of that. My mom had a great spirit of hospitality. She was always helping people, cooking for them, encouraging them. And that was a blessing to hear a lot of those stories when she passed of things she did for people we wasn't aware of. But so I find myself, typically, I would say, what? My mom would be pleased if I would help this person out, if I would just extend a little grace. So sometimes I feel when I do certain things that extend grace or hospitality to people, I feel like it's an honor to her and how she taught us in her legacy.
Amen.
I would just say I have not let go of some of the things that she embedded in me, and my family suffers for it. Like, we're going to clean this house. We're going to clean it from top to bottom and everything underneath. and especially
Oh,
around the
done.
holidays, we gonna clean, clean, clean. We gonna move everything, refrigerator, stove, and we're gonna donate clothes, like all those
Mhm.
sayings. House got to be clean. Got to have some, certain things to eat and all of that stuff before the new year struck. So I've held on to a lot of that, and I can't let it go. I don't know why. She hazed me into to being lucky like she was.
Oh, Michelle is OCD. When she vacuum that carpet,
I
don't walk on that carpet. Oh, I'm like, girl, I can't deal with you. I
I'm
gotta
right there
go
with you.
because I'm gonna leave something on the floor or something, and you're gonna be judging.
You're not by yourself,
All
Nichelle.
right.
Same lesson.
That's right. All right, Paige, I think we got a couple
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So, do you have a mother-like support figure in your lives now, or do you feel like
Mm,
that role is reserved strictly for your mother? Like, do you feel guilty if you have a mother-like figure in your life now?
I don't.
I,
I don't. And actually, this weekend, I took some time to go visit some people who have poured into my life, not trying to replace my mother. Like, they know they could never do that,
Mhm.
but have reached out to me, especially during COVID and me being home and trying to do school. And, I have sorority members, sisters, people from New Salem who said, you know, just checking on you. Here's some money for lunch. Go get the boys some lunch today. So I don't think they are trying to do that, and nor do I see them in that place. I do see them though as people that I could go to for guidance, folks that are
Mhm.
here to support me, as they know my mother would have wanted.
I,
Mhm.
I will say this. A lot of people have reached out to me and been very supportive. I will admit, I do not call anyone else mom, but I will say Mama Bowman, like, and I'll say that Miss Bowman, she really helped me with my girls and came in. Well, I didn't mention both of my husband's parents are deceased and both of mine. So we're under 50. My kids don't have any grandparents. So a lot of
Hmm.
people have came along and kind of done special things for them. You hear people say, "Oh, I'm sending my kids to the grandparents for the weekend." We don't always
Mm,
have that, and so we look for other ways to pour into them. And there are older people that just do grandma like stuff for them, and I
yeah,
appreciate that for them. Yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
We call them
Mhm.
the fake grandmas.
Yeah. The kid grandmas, we love them. They're awesome.
Yes.
Hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Was that it? Paige, any other questions?
Uh,
Paige, did we lose her?
And she's
We might
I
have
think
frozen.
we
lost
lost
Paige.
it.
Okay.
Oh, there she
Is she
is.
She's
back?
back.
Are you back, Paige?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Any
I
other
thought I had to
questions?
start over.
I know.
I was like,
We're
oh
almost done
no.
here. Uh, Paige, was there any other questions? Uh-oh. Maybe she did. Oh. How
Wow.
did
How
your
did your
Ooh.
husband
handle?
handle the
Wow.
grief?
Oh
That's a
boy.
good question. Yeah.
Yes. So I would have to say, anyone knows my husband, he is not the most emotive person, if that's a word. So he had to really just give me my space. He really
Mhm.
he didn't know what to do as far as the day to day, but he just said, "Hey, I may not be that person to understand why you crying 2 hours in the morning, but when I was done, do you want something to eat? You need a tissue." So he gave me my space to grieve without judging me and without making me feel like I need to bring it to a close.
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
Michelle,
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I think we kind of married the same person. Greg is very emotional, less. Um, like I don't think honestly he knew how to handle all my grief. Like it was like
yeah,
back to back to back to back, and I'll never forget one day he was just like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't." And it was the first time I admitted I wasn't okay. I don't think I'm okay. And he just looked at me like I wasn't expecting you to say that. Like I was expecting you to say what you normally say, which was, I'm fine, I'll be okay. And that one day I didn't, and he stood in his tracks like, what am I supposed to do with this? Um, and then I talked him into going to a couple of grief sessions with me, which was very helpful.
I would definitely say men and women definitely grieve differently and they process it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to think. We've been telling men, you have to be strong. You have to be strong. You know, you're the head of the house, or just you're the man of the family. So you know, sometimes you don't allow men to really fully get that out. But I can honestly say, you know, when my mother lost her mother, my dad was supportive. You know, he just let her do what she needed to do. But when we lost my brother, and they both had to go through that, it was amazing to
Mm-hmm.
watch how they both handled the process. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Mhm. And it goes back to, like you said, how everyone grieves differently,
hmm
Yes.
you know, and
exactly.
respecting that. Hmm.
hmm I
Absolutely.
tease
Yeah.
him, you know, sometimes because he's very emotional. You know, I always tease him now that he's older. I'm like, boy, you just cry all the time, and he just gives me that look. But I appreciate, you know, I gotta be careful because you know I'm his girl, but I'm
Okay.
appreciative that he is becoming more expressive. So ladies, hold out. They get more, you know, become more emotional as they get older. Just hold on with them.
Okay. Okay.
How many years would that be?
Ooh, I'm not gonna say. I'm so not gonna say.
Because everyone is different
Right.
Right.
Yes,
Everyone is
exactly.
different.
In their
Yes.
own
Yes.
time
in
with
their own
God.
Yes.
time. Oh, well, this
Yeah.
has been an amazing discussion. I think everyone on the chat is saying the exact same thing. What a blessing to have you here tonight and just being so authentic and opening up and sharing your stories has just been amazing, amazing to me as someone who's gone through it as well. What I like to do, and I told you we were going to go over. I told you. I knew it. I could feel it at the beginning when I started talking to you. We're going to go over tonight. But what I would like is for, especially maybe Charity, you come at the end, for
Mhm.
each of you, just some closing remarks, just you know, just your feelings on as far as this topic is concerned, and any other things you'd like to add before we go tonight.
Yeah. I'll start
Go to you, Holly.
quickly. All right. I'll start quickly, and I would say, if anything that you heard us say today, please be intentional about the holidays. Lean into your support group. Um, I did not partake of counseling. I probably should have. I'm a person who say, "Oh, you should go to counseling," but I never look it up. But so next, I know in the future to use that as a resource, and then redefine your new normal. Like what we did with the Motherless Mother's Day luncheon, it will definitely be a blessing to you in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Absolutely.
And I would just say be
Absolutely.
intentional about your healing and whatever that looks like for you. Like for me, it was being intentional about getting a therapist. It was about being intentional about my girlfriend groups and my girlfriend time and being honest when I'm with my girlfriends and not saying, everything is okay. Like that should really be a time for you to take the mask off and to
Yeah.
breathe and to lean into what you're truly feeling. Um, and when you do that, you'll start to feel so much better.
And I just want to interject real quickly before we go to you, Chastity. That's very important, everyone, here and on in the chat and on Facebook and YouTube right now, is taking that mask off when you can. I know as Black women, there are times when we have to put it on and we have to do what we have to do, but it adds so much stress to us, and that is so unhealthy. So I just want to say that I'm glad you brought that up, Nichelle, and you shared your story on how you had to wear that mask, but then you found the time to release and take it off. So
Mm-hmm.
very important.
Mm-hmm.
To you, Charity.
So basically, I do have some closing scriptures, but I want to thank Holly and Nichelle this opportunity because, I am such I'm an old spirit. I'm gonna say that. I just got on social media last year, and that was only because I was able to do share a grief piece last year, and since
Mm,
then I've found a lot of my childhood friends who have lost their moms, and so I feel like God always puts me in a place where I like to be of support to people. So one thing I'm very intentional is definitely now that we have text message, you don't have to actually pick up the phone. Send a text to that person. Just tell them, "Hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you.
mm,
And sometimes I'll say if you need anything, but I'm more intentional about saying I'm gonna come by and see how you're doing. My one
Mm-hmm.
good friend, she lost her mom last August, and I literally told her mom when you get that last viewing at the funeral, I said I got your daughter, and I said I'm gonna take care of
Mm-hmm.
her, and I meant that.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
I meant that because her mom was such a mother to all of us, and her daughter is so much
Mm-hmm.
like her. And I love my friend. She's always looking out for others, but just letting her know, I got you, girl. If this is not a
Mm-hmm.
good day, I'm here. I got you. Those scriptures I was referring to were Matthew 5:4, chapter 5, verse 4, John 11, Romans 8:18 through 27, and focus on 20 verses 26 and 27. Romans 15:13, 1 Corinthians 13:7, and 1 Thessalonians 4:13 through 18. And I had shared that with Holly and Nichelle that in Romans 8, there's a passage that says, when you can't pray for yourself, the Spirit will intercede on your behalf. And I can recall there were some times where you just feel choked by the grief, but your spirit knows how to intercede on your behalf and put you in a place of comfort, even if it's just for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, ladies, everyone. I appreciate all three of you have been awesome. This has been a really great discussion tonight. I don't think we could have had a better group together and to talk about what we needed to talk about and like I said, it's just wonderful to be able to come together and share your story, share your testimonies, and share just authentically just how you deal with your grief. And it's such an ongoing thing. It's not something that ends tomorrow. It's going to keep going, but to have that support system to be there with you, that's extremely important. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Right before we
Paige,
go,
oh,
yeah,
did
right
we hit
before we finish it, someone asked if you guys could share any resources for Christian therapists.
Oh, yeah.
I could definitely tell you the hospitals have they have more of the group therapy per se, but if you
Mm-hmm.
have an EAP program through your employer, they basically have an option for you to pick a counselor, and you can narrow down the counseling as far as if you want them to be Christian, if you want them to be male, if you want them to be African American, whatever you're looking for, it can be
Mm-hmm.
narrowed down for that.
Yeah.
So I would check first
Yeah.
with your employer and then check with some of the other free resources, like the hospitals. And you said Kobecker House, correct, Nichelle?
Yeah,
That was for
and
children.
I've seen Dr. Cynthia Tyson putting in some resources into the chat as well, books,
right.
and
Hmm.
other links that we could leverage. But Kobacker House was one of the ones that I leveraged. Yeah.
Hmm.
Excellent. Great. Okay, anything else, Paige? In the chat or on your mind?
That's all. Again, just thank you guys so much for sharing your story and touching so many people. You go back and read the comments. They're great.
Yeah.
I think
Thank
it's a
you.
great idea. All right, thanks again. And thanks everyone for joining us tonight for another episode of Wellness Wednesdays. And as always, stay safe and be healthy. Or be healthy and stay safe. Have a good night.